Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about how to change a watch bracelet or a watch strap. And it's pretty easy to do. I can do it within a couple minutes. And all you need is a screwdriver. I bought a sunglasses or miniature screwdriver set at Walmart. Stanley, they're yellow. And they spin, which I bought them for, which allows you to put pressure on the top of it when it's vertical, and you can spin it. You'll see in a minute. But I did grind the tip down. That's not an original. My father has a rotary grinder in the garage, and I just took this to it for a little bit, and not too long, and I filed down the top two, and then I kind of made it so it wasn't sharp. It's not really sharp, it's not going to scratch. So I kind of went head on into the rotary tool and all around a little bit. But if I didn't have that rotary tool, like a rotary grinder that's connected to a bench or whatever, I don't know what they're called, but anyways, I would use a file, which I have at home, or I've been thinking about it, even a rock outside. I'd take a rock to just make the metal a little thinner, but you know, I'm not sure if that's... The problem was it didn't extend when I bought it. It only came out that much, like miniature, and I wanted it this much miniature. So I ground that length off a little bit and made it more flat. But I'm sure this was at the beginning of my foray into changing watch straps, so I'm sure I wouldn't even need to do that now, but it's been good ever since, so why change it? So this is how I wear my watch all the time, and that's the alligator strap that I showed in my waterproofing video, and you can see it looks really nice, I think. On the strap. So I'm a big fan of this di-modell arrow lining right there. And I think these have come from staining when I've washed them with, or rinsed this strap with hand sanitizer, because that's where it meets the buckle, and right over top where it loops over or something is where, sorry about that, right there. Anyways, that's about it. But these little holes, they absorb the sweat, and you can see because I put that beeswax stuff on it, there's hardly any damage to the strap whatsoever, and this is an old strap now. There's the movement. Well, we might as well start the chronograph for whatever reasons. Alright, so I'm going to talk about, well, I'll just do it, okay? So the key is, I'm right-handed, so my left hand, I have a claw grip like this. And these two fingers are sort of really important at one end. And I always use the same end, which is the 12 o'clock end. I always just start at 12 o'clock side between the lugs. So this finger goes at, well, I'll just do it. So I take the 12 o'clock side, there's the 12 o'clock side, and I flip it over in my hands. And then I do that claw right under both lugs. It's hard to see. And what you want to do is put a little bit of upward pressure, not too much, but just a little bit of upward pressure on it. And so what happens is, when you pull this, you're going to slip the screwdriver in this way, gently, by pushing down on the leather, not on the metal. You don't want to really hit the metal at all, because that'll cause scratches. And you don't really have to push down too hard on this to just wiggle it in. In any case, you want to put, so when that does pop, you want to put a little bit of pressure on that point. And then once you get the first one out, you're golden just to take the second one out. You don't even need to, but you want to hold it in. Because when bracelets, I'll show you why when we do the bracelet. That's just the way I hold the watch. And so the rest of my hand is clammed up around the watch. All right. So all you do is you take your 12 o'clock side, which I do, and you take your little screwdriver and you sort of rub it along the leather. And you gotta get kind of close here. And you should come to a stop. And that's when you can put a little bit upward pressure. Back off a little bit, go in and just come down. And when you come down, this little bit of pressure that you've put on this finger here, this little bit of pressure, it just popped it out and it comes right out. So then, of course, I do the 6 o'clock side. Same thing. Put the pressure on here. Make it so it's short, like this. Slip it in like that. Back off a little bit. Come up, because there's a little bit of a nipple or a lip around the spring bar. And then you just come down and it's out. I use the screwdrivers to pop these little guys through. Okay, so the reason I like this tag is because it has both bracelet and can be worn on a, it's not an integrated bracelet. It doesn't have an integrated bracelet into the case. And I've owned a couple tags before, or links before. I've always liked the link. So I gotta turn this around. And both times or 3 times I had the link in the past, they were integrated bracelets and I got tired of them. There we go, sorry about that. So you just go like that. It's hard to hold on to. I'm trying to look at a camera too. And anyways, when I did the links before, I didn't like how the case or the bracelet was integrated and you were sort of committed to just a bracelet. There we go. There it is. Okay, so once I have this ready, it shouldn't take that long, but anyways, I always find, again, the 12 o'clock side. So the way you do that is you put it on your wrist. How would it be on my wrist? It would be on like that. On the back of my wrist. So I can follow it up and know that this is the 12 o'clock side. Without hesitation, I can just turn it around and find the 12 o'clock side here. Oh. And again, you maintain the same position just like this with those two fingers. And your thumb can move dexterously around. So the way I put the bracelet in, and I'll do a strap as well if I have time. Okay, so you push the one side, I always do the bottom side in all the way. And then you just slip that into here. Just metal onto metal. There's no, the top one's still free. And then the top one can actually fit in just until the point where the spring bar goes. Sorry about that. So this one you just push in and you just slip it in there until it's nice and snug. Right there. And if you push this out a little bit, so use this finger to push it away from the metal. You don't want that little spring bar touching your lug with any sort of force because it'll scratch it. So you just keep it out a little hair. And you take that same screwdriver and you rock it in like that. Then you click it in. Now, big deal if you hear 2 clicks, doesn't matter. What you should do is give it just a slight little tug. Don't push too hard, but just make sure both are in there. And sometimes you'll hear them click after, even though you think you hear it. So then, of course, you can just flip this over. And do the same thing. So push that in all the way. The other one's just sitting in there. Although this isn't really touching the metal. Okay. So then you push out a little bit on there. And then push down until they both slide in. Now they're both sitting in there loose. I could pull this or move it as I want. But I just push it in. 2 clicks, whatever. Just move it around a little bit. Don't pull on it too hard. And you're good to go. Okay, so to change the bracelet. Same thing. I start at 12 o'clock side. 2 fingers. This is the key where this one pushes up. Because they fit so tight sometimes that if you push this one up and then you have to move this finger down to push the bottom one up, the top one will slip back into its pinhole. So it's best to keep a little bit of pressure, just a little bit of pressure on those. So, see if I can do it here. All right, got it. Okay, so you just slide that in there without touching anything. And then you'll see that little lip on the, you'll feel that little lip on the spring bar. And you just sort of pluck away. Sorry, it's hard to do in front of the camera here. I gotta. Oh, sorry, there you go. I did have it all on. Okay, so there it's back in. You just keep the pressure out. Boom, that's out already. It just doesn't have to move. And then this one's out. Boom. Done. Takes off. Same thing. Same thing. 2 fingers. A little bit of pressure upwards. That's out. Bottom one. Where is it? There you go. And it's out. So, to put it back on the bracelet, sorry, on the strap, which one should I put it on? I'll just do this one because it's bright. Here I have another di-modell. Boom, arrow lining. It's like a waterproof leather. I forget the model name of it now, but it's pretty good. I also like this thing that they have. This red hold strap for that second holder. The keeper, sorry, the strap keeper. It's really good, and if you don't like it, just cut it off and you can take this one off completely. Which I did with my leather one, that alligator one, I got rid of it. All right, so you just go kind of quickly here. My camera only records for 20 minutes, so I got 2 minutes remaining. There, so you just go in where the strap is equidistant on either side. None of this, don't put it in all on that side or all on this side. Make it so that's perfectly equal. And then what you do is, okay, so I didn't even say it, but again, I do the 12 o'clock side first, which is always the tang buckle. The tang buckle is always at 12, so I just naturally did it without mentioning it here. 12 o'clock side on the tag. And then what you do is, again, I'm assuming this little digit position here, is you put the bottom one into the hole. So the bottom one is in the hole, right there. And you just sort of, again, like the bracelet, guide this one. You can use your finger here. So I have upward position on this, pressure, and a little bit of upward pressure on this to control it. I have my thumb here. And again, you don't want this pin buckle to, or spring bar, sorry, to scratch the metal. You can see the metal's not scratched at all. Obviously, make that perfectly equal. Right there. And then you just push down. And now that they're both in there, you just wiggle it around a little bit, and eventually only this one needs to go in. And you give it